Happy World Rainforest Day, everyone. My name is Ashley Spradlin, and welcome to an introduction to Web3, brought to you by Metis and Crypto Chicks. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Web3 is. We'll give you an introduction to the world of decentralization. This is a presentation put together by me. I'm Ashley Spradlin. I am the Educational Programs Manager at Metis and Crypto Chicks, and I have a background in public education, nonprofit management, and state and local government. So Crypto Chicks, to start, is a nonprofit focused on bringing more women into the blockchain space. So our mission is to educate people about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology and the possibilities in Web3, and then to support people in building their own businesses in this space. So we do that through two different programs, which I'll get into in just a second. But we have programs in over 56 countries. We've helped over 30 startups get their feet on the ground, and we have an online academy with over 40 courses to support our growing community. So we have two programs, the Academy, which has on-demand courses. We offer live webinars, and we have an educational podcast, which is just like 10-minute episodes to teach you the basics of blockchain, cryptocurrency, and how to get started in Web3. We also have a hatchery, which is our startup incubator. So if you have an idea for a Web3 business, or if you have a Web2 business that you want to integrate some sort of Web3 aspect in, then we can help you develop a plan, give you the education to understand how everything works, and then connect you with the right people to make your dream a reality. We are also brought to you by Metis. So Metis is an Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution. If you're not familiar with Web3, then that maybe didn't make any sense to you at all. But essentially, let me move my little bubble guy. We focus on decentralization. So allowing the users of the internet to take part in the control and governance of it. So we focus on making blockchain accessible, easy to use, and scalable so that transactions are fast, cheap, and then we provide the tools for people who are just individual users or who have business ideas that they want to bring onto the blockchain to customize them and make your experience individual-centric. So in case you ever use the Ethereum network, you might know that when it gets really clogged, when there are a lot of people using the network, then transaction speeds can be very slow. It can be really expensive. So Metis offers, it's kind of like the carpool lane. We offer faster speeds and lower costs because we're able to bundle up our transactions and pass them through to Ethereum. So we still offer a secure and decentralized platform without having to sacrifice cost and speed. So in today's workshop, I'm going to teach you a little bit about the evolution of the internet to Web3. What is it? How did we get here? Why decentralization matters, and what are some opportunities and use cases for this technology so that you can start to bring your own genius into this space, because the more diverse and inclusive, representative we can make Web3, the stronger it will be for everyone. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm not a tax expert or a lawyer or an accountant. This is just educational information to empower you to make informed decisions. So, how did we get here? What does the term Web3 even mean? Well, let's start with a little background. Web 1 was the read-only web. So think back to the early 90s, if you were alive then. There's no searching on the internet. You basically just log on. You are able to go to a website, you type in a URL, and you're able to just read what is posted there. There's no interaction really. You're just reading on a screen. Then we kind of moved into Web 2 in the late 90s. So think Google, social media, blogs, e-commerce, all of those things came to the table. No longer was it just you logging on and reading what someone else had written. You could also create your own content. Social media took center stage, and then we started to have the ability to buy and sell online. Eventually, we had smartphones. And with the advent of smartphones, everybody could be connected to the internet at all times. Suddenly, algorithms were tracking our online activity, and that data was monetized, usually by a few big companies. So all of our data, all of our online activity, everything that we did on the internet was analyzed and gathered and then sold for a profit. This is how companies like Meta or Facebook make most of their money. And so that was sold, and then that kind of determined what information you see, the content that is fed back to you. And it created these internet silos where kind of what we saw and what we expressed and interacted with online fed us more of the same. Also, we're not the ones receiving any money for the monetization of our data. Now that led to the evolution of Web3, which is a decentralized internet where the data is not owned or controlled by any one or just a few people. It's owned by all of the users. That means that the ownership of your data, the autonomy of your privacy, your own sovereignty is in your hands. So Web3 is our next evolution of bringing power to individual people. So before we come to Web3, we had kind of a controlled and corporate structure to the internet. If we think about money, for example, our fiat currency, our dollars, are regulated by the government. The Federal Reserve controls interest rates and the circulation of money. It also controlled the banking data that we had. So all these banks are reporting and being monitored by the Federal Reserve. However, their data security was not very tight. For instance, it's been hacked over 50 times within my lifetime. It's also fairly exclusive. Our financial systems to this point are determined by intermediaries, by bankers. So depending on where you live, depending on the socio-political climate, there are barriers to your access to financial services. Whether or not you have good credit can determine your ability to get a loan or even rent an apartment. And then there's just this general lack of autonomy. These larger systems perpetuated by just a few big players are continually taking power from individual users and barring our access to one another. So Web3 is really a global effort to take back control and autonomy over our own data, over our own privacy, and over our own currency. So Web3 offers us a chance to take back control over our own information. In Web3, you are the keeper of your funds, you are the keeper of your data. You can choose to be anonymous if you'd like. Everything is stored on a public blockchain, which I'll get to in just a moment, but it really gives you a voice. It is more secure. I'll talk about blockchain technology in a moment and explain how it is secure. It's also inclusive in that it overcomes geographic barriers, also overcomes socioeconomic status, and it gives people access to financial services without intermediaries. So anyone can join and create in the Web3 space, no matter your background. And then sovereignty, it gives us the power to choose what data we want to share, how we want to use our funds, how we want to interact with one another in an online and decentralized space. So this is all made possible through blockchain technology. Blockchain technology, let's think of it like a magic notebook. So a blockchain is like, I have a notebook that is connected to people all over the world who also have little magic notebooks. And every time I write in my notebook, that what I write down appears in the other notebooks that are connected to mine. And everybody has to agree that what I wrote is accurate and true. And once they do, that registers into my notebook permanently. It can't be changed. So it's kind of like a decentralized blockchain. A decentralized blockchain is when users operate nodes, which are just devices like a computer or a phone even, and they're connected to the internet. And this is that everybody who owns a node and contributes to this network is responsible for running the blockchain. No one person owns it, but everyone owns it. So there is a piece of the blockchain on every single device, which means that if I destroyed 90% of the devices that are contributing to this blockchain, the blockchain would live on. It would really take a cataclysmic global event to destroy the blockchain, because I would have to destroy each and every device that it is stored on. It also means that there's no way for someone to go in and make changes or hack into the system and create their own ledgers or participate in any malicious activity, because every person on the blockchain has to approve of the information that's being recorded and stored. It's also secured by cryptography. So cryptography, think of it like the science of telling secrets. So it's a very complex mathematical equation that encrypts information, and it would take more time and energy than there has been since the beginning of time to crack this code. So it's highly secure and impossible to destroy. A decentralized blockchain is also transparent. It's a public ledger. So remember my magic notebook? Anybody can read my magic notebook. So whatever I write in it that's been agreed upon and then recorded in pen in my magic notebook, anybody can go on and look at it. Now they can't change it or alter it. It's immutable. So it exists forever and it's there for all to see. Now the low-hanging fruit, the first product that everyone has heard of that has been developed from blockchain technology is cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency uses blockchain technology for peer-to-peer exchanges. So essentially, it allows for us to exchange currency without an intermediary. There are no barriers to access. So now anybody who has access to the internet can send money to anyone, anywhere in the world, regardless of time, location, geopolitical barriers. It also makes it possible to send and receive money very quickly, very cheaply, and it's transparent. So there is what's called a smart contract, which is essentially computer code that governs these transactions. So it allows for trust in a world where you don't necessarily have to know the person that you're interacting with, because the code that governs these transactions is what makes everything happen. It's autonomous. So there's no human making all of these things connect and work. It's the code that makes everything function. But there's so much more that can be done in Web3 with blockchain technology beyond cryptocurrency. DeFi, or decentralized finance, is what the term that we use to encompass the world of cryptocurrency. But essentially, it allows for financial freedom and autonomy in a peer-to-peer based system that doesn't rely on intermediaries like banks to control how things work. We also have the opportunity for NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. Again, they're just like digital assets, like certificate of authenticity on a blockchain that can be used to build community or to celebrate art or to establish your online identity. We also have DAOs, or DACs, as they're kind of shifting toward at Metis. We're building tools. So DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations, and we're building into decentralized autonomous corporations, which essentially just allow people to do regular business functions like human resources and accounting and all the things that you think of when you think of how I run a business on a blockchain. So it really is a new form of organizational structure that is less top-down and more bottom-up. It allows for individual community input and governance. And then there are possibilities with gaming and metaverse. So think global connectivity and access to anything. In metaverse, people are able to access education that they maybe normally wouldn't have access to, or community, or just really interacting with people and having a good time. You can monetize your work in the metaverse. You can monetize your gaming experience. There are so many possibilities in Web3. I'm going to talk a little bit more about a few of them now. So first, we've got DeFi. So I want to explain a little bit about traditional finance versus decentralized finance. So think about traditional finance like you would think about eating in a restaurant. So a traditional restaurant, you make reservations, you have to wait to be seated at a table. Usually the host chooses your table, you order from a set menu, and you wait for your order to arrive, you pay for your bill, and tip for service. So this is like a traditional bank. You often have to apply for services. You're told what you're eligible for. Sometimes you're only able to access certain things, sometimes nothing at all. Sometimes transactions may take a while, and then you have to pay for those services. You pay for the bank to guard your funds, to manage your assets, and to send and receive money, whatever the case may be. Now, decentralized finance is a little more like eating at a buffet, where you seat yourself, you fill your plate with whatever you'd like from the buffet, you pay for your plate for what you ate, but it's a lot cheaper because it's self-service. You're not tipping anybody else for doing the work for you. So in decentralized finance, there is no one telling you what you do or don't have access to. If you have access to the internet, you can take part in decentralized finance. You can set up your own wallet, you can purchase cryptocurrency, and you can exchange, you can employ other financial tools to grow your assets, to invest. You can really choose to be a part of whatever economy you'd like in a decentralized manner. So for this, it's a lot cheaper because no longer are you paying someone else to manage your funds. That's on you. No longer are you paying for intermediaries to facilitate a trade or transaction. It's all done by smart contracts on a blockchain. So there are some fees involved. There are transaction fees for the computer power required to make these transactions happen, but it's a lot cheaper, and the money that is generated by these transactions goes back to the individual users, the people who are securing the network, doesn't go to these big banks. We also have DAOs in Web3. So DAOs are a really exciting organizational structure that kind of flips the script. So no longer is it one person kind of calling the shots and sending the orders down a chain of command from a top-down perspective. More so now it's bottom-up, or rather almost even more scattered than bottom-up. There is no up. They are decentralized organizations where no one is a single owner. They're governed by smart contracts. And again, smart contracts are like if-then statements for computers. So it's code that is written to execute immediately when certain conditions are met. So DAOs are groups of people who come together, they pool their assets and their resources toward a specific mission or a shared cause, and then they determine which smart contracts they want to use to govern their organization. Essentially, the governance is voted upon, the earnings are distributed based on contributions, so it's really more of a communal effort in service of a mission rather than one person receiving money and then doling it out and making decisions as they would choose. There are some limitations to DAOs, however. When nobody is in charge, well, nobody is in charge. So there are some inefficiencies in this model. So one of the things we're doing at Metis is developing structures for what we like to call DACs, decentralized autonomous corporations. And this is building off of a vision of the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin. He developed this thought process and we're kind of bringing it into action. So DACs allow for decentralized autonomous organizations to have more enterprise functions in a blockchain. So now you can assign permissions to certain roles. So people who are experts in certain things maybe have a little more say in the execution of a task that they're quite familiar with, rather than relying on people who are just involved in the project but maybe don't know about a specific aspect of it. It allows you to put things like your supply chain or your human resources or your accounting all on chain to build a sense of trust and transparency with your community or your customers. And then task management, payroll, all of these things can be customized based on individual user needs. So we're really trying to take the approach of a DAO where it's decentralized and communal effort and kind of ramping it up so that people are able to customize what functions they can do on a blockchain together for maximum efficiency, maximum use of resources, and greater impact. Now, we move into the idea of digital assets, and this is kind of the thing that hooks people into Web3 from the get-go. So we think about cryptocurrencies, and then I'm sure you've heard of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Really, this is just an opportunity for people to express their value and their community endorsement and participation in a digital space. So if you think about your money, your photos, your connections with friends, the things that we're interested in are increasingly becoming more and more digital. So I don't actually hold dollars in my hand and count them out anymore. I don't physically go to the bank to make a deposit. I do everything digitally from my phone. I don't print out my vacation photos and put them in an album. I post them on my Instagram. So digital assets and NFTs are an opportunity for us to create more of an online presence for ourselves and to connect with one another in a digital space. We can build community with NFTs. We can maximize the royalties and payment for artists and creators. We can reward people for their contributions to an organization, and they can also serve as investments. So really, the possibilities are endless because each individual, each organization can develop the functionality and utility of an NFT however they'd like it to be. One of the things that we are building at Metis is the ability to have a non-transferable NFT to represent your Web3 identity. So your on-chain activity, your contributions, your credentials, your accomplishments can all be minted for a unique identity that you can share in an online space. And this is really powerful when you think about establishing credibility to contribute to a new project or a new job or some work opportunity. It can be really powerful if we're thinking of incorporating lending for people, so sort of like a credit score. It could be a great method for businesses who have some sort of customer rewards program or rating and reviews to have an on-chain identity that they own that is not controlled by the platform in which they're using. So this is something that we're building, and really the goal of this is to allow people to develop this into whatever they want. We're building a framework so people can create and customize the tools that they need to bring blockchain to their business and to the people that they communicate with. I think it's really important to consider the ethos of Web3 over the culture of Web3. If you're new to Web3, maybe your introduction to blockchain has been mostly cryptocurrency, memes on Twitter, or headlines about really expensive NFTs. So I really just want to drive home for you the ethos, the soul, the belief, the purpose behind the development of Web3 so that you don't get distracted by the noise of how much this Bored Ape has sold for, or these headlines that you see about fake money and scams. The idea is that we are empowering people through in an individual way through collective support. So we're supporting community contribution that really allows an individual to offer their unique gifts, their unique strengths, without having to fit into a box or be compensated based on a set scale or to work specifically for one other person. You're able to choose and have the freedom to own your own contributions and your own gifts. It transcends socioeconomic and geopolitical barriers. So no matter where you are in the world, if you want to interact in an online economy, Web3 is the space to do that. You don't have access to a bank account, you don't have access to the US dollar, you're unable to get a loan. DeFi is the place for you to build financial freedom. It also presents an incredible opportunity to build a more equitable and innovative future. In Web3, many people choose to maintain an anonymous identity, and I think this is really powerful when we consider inequity in the world. So a young girl in Bangladesh can have the same playing field to start from as a middle-aged man in Silicon Valley. So the idea is, doesn't matter where you come from, in Web3 there's space for you. DeFi gives us increasing access to a financial service. NFTs help us build community and support creative art or missions, and we're able to participate in an economy that supports sovereignty. And then the potential for that is incentivization of behaviors that can change the world. So I know that that is a lot of information if you're brand new to Web3. This is a very high overview of all that's possible. And really, I just hope that it's piqued your interest so that you want to ask more questions, so that you want to consider what are the things that I'm passionate about, what are the things I like to work on, and how might this integrate with what I'm already doing to build a stronger, more inclusive, and more representative space. If you have questions, please reach out to us at Meet Us or Crypto Chicks through any of our social channels. We're on Telegram, Discord, and Twitter. Check us out, ask us questions, and I hope this was helpful. Happy World Rainforest Day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for learning, and thank you for contributing.